Hello everyone, how's it going? I'm WoWcrendor, and today we're going to take a look at a quest called Flight in the Firelands, which is part of a quest chain in Hyjal that leads up to this. It's from a bunch of harpies, and you gotta do stuff with harpies, and then you get to this part, which is based off of the old arcade game Joust. And at first you get on your mount, and it tells you to flap your wings, so I do, and I fall, and almost die, and that's when I realized that your mount you are riding is retarded. And unlike all the other flying mounts in the game, you have to tell him to flap his wings, or he will fall to his death. Which, at first glance of this quest, I was like, wow, that's pretty retarded that this one mount that is supposed to be this trained, awesome jousting mount is too retarded to fly on its own. So, at first glance, I was just like, this is illogical and stupid. But I didn't realize that it was supposed to be like the old game Joust at first as well. And as you can see by little pictures, there's pterodactyl type birds, and there's dudes on top of them, which is just like the old arcade game. Except you don't have to land on top of the things like the arcade game version. But overall, it's a pretty fun quest. You can see Blizzard's attempt at making quests less grinding and more doing things that are fun. Although I did not really like the controls of the quest. It felt like when you're flying around, you have to keep flapping to stay up, but then to turn, you're falling. I don't know, it's just weird controls. It's like playing a really bad Nintendo game. One of those where you feel like you have control over it, kinda, but he'll like move a second after you're done moving. Like, you move right, and then he, like, moves for an extra half second, and you're like, no, I don't want you to move. And that's what it kind of felt like, so I should probably report that and say, hey, make this a lot smoother in your controls. But aside from that, it was a pretty fun quest, even though it was kind of annoying. But it felt like they were trying to make it more challenging by making the controls harder, but as we've seen numerous times in other games, making the controls harder does not make the game harder, it just makes it more frustrating. And that is that. So I've just finished the first part, and you start on the second part, which is exactly the same, except now the sky is falling, or the top of the volcano mountain thing is falling, so you do the exact same thing, except there are giant meteor rocks falling from the sky. And I skipped over that part of the quest because it was boring, and I decided to do this part, which you run around and pop eggs, which is the quest after the one I was just talking about, which is probably really confusing. Or not. But the egg part, which is the last part of the quest, is extremely easy, because you find a room filled with eggs, and you just run around and pop them. And that's it. No hard controls. No jousting people in midair. You run around and you pop eggs. And then you get a pet. You can pick whichever pet you want, but you can only pick one of them. So, choose wisely. And then it tells you to don't forget to replace your main weapon because you are too retarded to realize that you need to replace your main weapon because you are holding a giant jousting weapon. And that's that. See ya!